All right, we'll call the October 5th meeting of the Planning Commission to order. Call the roll, please.
Barnett. Bauman.
Present.
Tamakis. Fagan. Gates.
Here.
Hochhalter.
Here.
Iverson.
Here.
Coop. Leiter. Nestle. Offerdahl.
Here.
Sessions.
Here.
And Wagonist.
That's 7. We have a quorum. So, stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll move to approval of the September 8th meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Offerdahl to approve the minutes. There's a second.
Second.
Second from, I'm sorry, I wasn't looking that way. Sydney? Yeah, from Commissioner Sessions. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, call the roll.
Bauman.
Yes.
Tamakis. Gates.
Yes.
Hochhalter.
Yes.
Iverson.
Yes.
Let's see. Offerdahl.
Yes.
And Sessions.
Yes.
All right.
Motion carries. Minutes are approved. All right, we have a fairly light agenda this month. 2 items of meat for discussion. First case is a request on an application from Casey Schmidt, representing Sunset Memorial, and John Pittner, owners, to create an outlot plat and to change the zoning designation of said outlot from ag to public district for the purpose of delineating the existing pet cemetery. The proposed outlot plat is to be known as Outlot 16 of Section 26, Township 156 North, Range 83 West. Property is legally known as a portion of Outlot 3 and an unplatted portion of the southeast quarter of Section 26, Township 156 North, Range 83 West, with a street address of 210 67th Avenue Northwest. And with that, we'll turn over to staff for the report.
Thank you, Chairman Demakis. So overall, this case, as you mentioned, is about delineating the existing pet cemetery from the rest of the property after it was unintentionally excluded from the existing cemetery during a land exchange. So looking at the aerial, the property is actually more of a general location. It's located off of Highway 83, and it's west of Sunset Memorial Gardens. So shown on the aerial itself is the 600-foot notification area, which was largely the property owners. Let's see, here's a copy of the outlot plat for it. The proposed outlot is going to be 0.49 acres, which does meet the bulk requirements for a public zoned lot. For the existing zoning, the property itself currently is zoned as AG Agricultural District, and the cemetery is C2 General Commercial District. And with the proposed property going to be a small sliver of public zoning district. Let's see. Looking at the future land use map, this area is currently outside of our future land use map area, if even just slightly. So this will be one of the areas that we'll actually come back to when we get to our comprehensive plan update, which should be in a couple months from now. We'll start the process. Looking at some of the site photos we have for it. So this is a picture of the existing pet cemetery. So then we have a view of the southern side of the lot and the proposed pole of the flag out lot, which the pole is essentially running down those 3 pipes that are in the foreground, or mid-ground more so, going all the way back to 62nd Avenue. So our findings of fact, overall it does meet the requirements to be zoned as a public zoned property, and there is cause due to changes that, since it was zoned, to change it to public zoning. And of course, the planning commission has the authority to hear the case, recommend approval or denial. So for our recommendation, staff recommends planning commission adopt the staff finding of facts and recommend approval to the city council of the outlot plat and zoning map amendment application subject to the following condition, which is just our boilerplate subdivision language. So they have 6 months to get the final plat in, otherwise it would expire. And I will stand for any questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions for staff? Okay, seeing none, then we will open the public hearing. Is there anybody in attendance who wishes to speak on behalf of this agenda item? Please come on up, sign in there, and give us your name, please.
With this pen?
Sure. I'm not sure. No, I think you have to use an ink pen. Just a
Oh, right
second.
here, got it. My name is Casey Schmidt. I'm the manager of Sunset Memorial Gardens. And just, I mean, Peter did an awesome job explaining that. Just to kind of clarify some stuff, for probably a good 50 years, this section of land, including the, is it possible to get Exhibit 1 back up there? Please? There you go. So the land, so that'd be the west side, that white line there. For 50 years, we thought this land was all the way up to the top of the cemetery, where the block lines are, and all the way to the road. And just recently, we found out that it was not from the landowner, and so through a lot of going back and forth with them, we've come up with this to kind of solve the problem, so to speak. And so I guess if you guys have any questions for me, I just kind of wanted to give you a little background of how this all came to, and it's kind of, it happened 2 managers or 3 managers before me, so I'm kind of here trying to fix it, and I find there's no easy way to really fix it, but I'm learning, so that's it, I guess.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. I'm glad you guys were able to resolve something and get this taken care of. Any questions for Mr. Schmidt? Okay, we should be good. Thanks. Anybody else in the audience who wishes to address this agenda item, either for or against? All right, well, seeing none then, I will close the public hearing and turn it over to the commission.
I appreciate that the 2 landowners were able to work out something that would be amenable, and so I'm going to go ahead and move that we approve this based on staff recommendations and finding of fact.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Baumann to approve based on findings of fact and recommendations. Is there a second?
I will second.
Second from Commissioner Iverson. Any discussion? All right, seeing none, call the roll, please.
Barnett, oh, sorry, Barnett's not here. Baumann,
Yes.
Demakis, Gates,
Yes.
Hochhalter,
Yeah.
Iverson,
Yes.
let's see, then Offerdahl,
Yes.
and Sessions.
Yes.
All right.
Carries. On to item number 6, which is future land use map amendment and zoning map amendment on an application from Jacob Lazat, owner for a zoning map amendment from C2 general commercial to R1 single family residential for the purpose of selling his home. The applicant is also amending the future land use map designation of this property to change it from general mixed use to low density residential. The property is legally known as the west 50 feet less the north 10 feet of Lot 6 and the west 50 feet of Lot 7, Block 3, Hecker's 3rd Edition to the city of Minot, North Dakota. The property is located at 810 East Burdick Expressway. We'll turn it over to staff for the report.
Thank you, Chairman Demakis. So overall, in addition to just trying to sell us up, this case is also about bringing the property into further conformance with the zoning code. So looking at the aerial, the property is a bit more generally located at the bottom of the overpass over the tracks for it's going over East Burdick. And so circled in red actually is the access and how you get to the property, which is shown in white. And this would have looked just a bit different back in the late 70s, early 80s before they expanded the overpass. It would have looked similar to how it actually does on the south side, where the subject property is. So a little bit of background on the zoning. It was originally zoned as C1 neighborhood commercial back in 1958 when the city adopted its first zoning code. It was rezoned to C2 in 1963, and it's remained like that ever since. Now, that has changed as far as allowable uses during that time. In 2013, when that zoning code was adopted, having any residential buildings or primary uses on commercially zoned properties was prohibited by the zoning code. So that then moved the property into a legal non-conforming status. It could remain, but if there was a fire or anything that destroyed by more than 50%, they'd have to rebuild it as a commercially zoned and functioning property. Looking at the future land use map, it's currently general mixed use, and with the proposal to take it to low density residential, it would just be expanding the district across the alley that's there to the other side. Looking at some of the site photos, this is actually from that access point that's across the highway. And it's looking over the ramp. You actually see the edge of the guardrails right in front of the applicant's house in this photo. Here's another photo of the subject property. You can actually see the intersection then between East Burdick and I have 7th Street on there, but I think it actually may have been 9th. They may have miscounted on that. That's in the background. So with that access site, then you're going down that access road underneath the overpass and then out this way in a one-way street, essentially. So now we did receive a comment on this item, actually. It was from Joe Easton. He was from the Coca-Cola High Country, and so he was saying that he owns lands that butts the subject property to the south, so 410 through 416 9th Street Southeast. They don't object to the rezoning of this parcel. However, we request that note be added to the rezone plat that allows for the current setbacks in the C2 zone to remain for our parcel. The interior side lot line setbacks requirements in the C2 zone are 0 feet. Current zoning reads side abutting ag or any residential district is 15 feet. That's from section 2.14-3. And so if the subject property is rezoned to R1, we are concerned that any future vertical structure on 410 9th Street Southeast would have to abide by the 15-foot setback and not a 0-foot setback as is permitted now. And they're asking you to please consider adding clarifying note to the resolution or subsequent filed public plat that states that any possible future vertical construction of 410 9th Street Southeast retains a 0-foot setback along the shared property line with 810 East Burdick Expressway. And if we had any questions or concerns, they asked us to reach out to them. Now, addressing that comment, it's really not something we can do. We can encumber the subject property in this case, which is proposed to go to lower intensity zoning district with a request to not have it affect the potential future development on the currently vacant and higher intensity zone property. So the owner of that property will ultimately have to go and seek an alternative method to reduce the potential setback and landscaping buffering that would result from this rezoning and potentially from the other R1 zone properties, as we saw on the map previously. That whole other side of the alley is zoned R1, so they'd also have the same setback potentially from that one as well. So findings of fact kind of it gets closer to being in compliance with the overall zoning code as a result of going to R1 single family residential. And there has been sufficient change staff finds to go and actually rezone it to R1 due to things that have changed since it was initially zoned. And of course, Planning Commission does have the authority to hear the case and recommend that it be approved or denied. So as far as our recommendations, this has changed a bit since what was given out to you on the written staff report. On that, while we referenced it throughout the entire report, we didn't actually have the recommendation to go from general mixed use to low density residential. So that has been added to the slides, and everything else should be in line with what it is. So with that, staff recommends Planning Commission adopt staff findings of fact and recommend approval to City Council of the zoning map amendment from C2 General Commercial District to R1 Single Family Residential District, and to amend the future land use map designation of the property from general mixed use to low density residential for the west 50 feet less north 10 feet of Lot 6 and the west 50 feet of Lot 7, Block 3 of Hecker's 3rd Edition. And I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Go ahead.
Thanks for the presentation, Mr. Baumgartner. Just so my understanding is correct, the abutting High Country Coca-Cola property would be on the south side of the property line we're talking about, and it would be abutting their north side of it, where in the area it looks like trucks are being stored. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Next question then, if I can ask that. So the guidelines for the 15-foot setback for abutting a less intense zoning district, that would be only if that company were to want to build something that is not currently there, and it would only be for future development and not current development or any negative, like, you know, their building wouldn't be conforming in this particular setting. Is that correct?
Yeah. Chairman Demakis, Commissioner Bauman, that is correct.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Any further questions for staff?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So, Mr. Baumgartner, how can this issue be resolved then?
So, Chairman Demakis, Commissioner Sessions, the way to do that would be potentially to go and request a variance or go through that process as a way to potentially demonstrate a hardship to actually go through and not get the code changed for them, but get some alleviation from that way.
Nothing can be done now at this time.
No. As it stands right now, it's not there. They haven't built anything on the property yet, so that setback is not doing anything for them. It's just, it'll be there and it'll exist when they actually go to build something. And at this time right now, it's just not affecting anything.
All right, thank you.
Anything further? Go ahead.
In your presentation, one question that came to mind was about the right to residency in our current zoning code. So obviously, this is a resident living on a C1 or a C2 zone, which you said at one point was not legal. In our current zoning code, is it legal for people to build a home on a C1 or C2 lot?
So, Chairman Demakis, Commissioner Bauman, currently it is not.
Okay.
So, since the code was initially changed in 2013, that has remained in effect. So they could still rebuild it if less than 50% of it were destroyed by some catastrophe. Currently, but otherwise, right now, you would not be able to rebuild, and you couldn't build one on any of those other C2 lots, or as well as any other commercial or industrial property in town.
Okay, thanks.
Very good. Anything else for staff? All right. We will move on then to the public hearing. Is there anybody here who wishes to speak on this agenda item? Please come forward. Sign in, give us your name, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, so I just wanted to give you guys.
Sorry, what's your name?
Oh,
please?
Jacob Lazat. I
you.
actually own the property. So I want to give you a little background of when I acquired this 2 years ago. I actually got it in a HUD auction. So when I did get it in the HUD auction, I went to go get a home loan for it, and it was owned commercially, so I wasn't able to do so. So we had to become creative to come up with the money. But after my 2 years living there, I'm now able to sell it here in December. And I just need to get it rezoned so I can do that and someone else can get a home loan, not just sell it as a, commercial property. So I just wanted to let you guys know that's kind of where I stand. I didn't know it was a commercial property when I won the HUD bid. It was when I went to go get the home loan. They made that clear. So thank you. Any questions for me?
Any questions for the applicant? I don't think so. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anybody else in the audience who wishes to speak on this matter? Very good. All right. Seeing none, then we will close the public hearing and I will turn it over to the commission. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve based on staff's findings of fact and recommendations.
Commissioner Alfredall moves to approve based on findings of facts and recommendations. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Commissioner Sessions. Any discussion? All right. Hearing none, then we will call the roll.
To include the future land use. If you'd so entertain the modification to include the future land use map amendment within that. Actually,
Commissioner Alfredall, was your motion based upon the revisions that the staff put in front of us?
Yes.
Okay.
Good for you guys?
Yeah, that'll work for us. Thank you. So then, Bauman,
Yes.
Tamakis,
Yes.
Gates,
Yes.
Bokalter,
Yes.
Iverson,
Yes.
Offerdahl,
Yes.
and Sessions.
Yes.
All right.
Motion carries. Very good. All right. Other business. Looks like we've got 2 items on there.
all right. Thank you, Chairman Demakis and members of the commission. I just have a couple things. One of which is, maybe Derek, you can help me out here. Okay, thanks. All right, so I'm going to go over the roles and responsibilities, and then Brian's got some dates for next year with regard to the Planning Commission meetings that he'll go over. So I just wanted to touch on some of the roles and responsibilities and with regard to what staff is here for and what Planning Commission members are here for. So the staff is the point of contact, and we provide procedural guidance to inquirers. So these could be our customers or potential applicants or just property owners, developers, and then also provide, of course, our recommendations to the Planning Commission. And so our resources include the legal, procedural, and guiding documents, and these would be our zoning municipal ordinances, our comp plan, other plans, and then case law and professional publications that we reference. There's also several planning associations. 2 most notable would be American Planning Association, North Dakota Planning Association that we participate in, and then our peers across North Dakota are planning professionals, so and beyond. So as far as what staff does is we explain processes and provide preliminary input on proposals. So this is to inquirers. So we hold development review team meetings with property owners, developers, applicants, and we discuss their intentions and how it complies with the code, other requirements and standards that are going to apply to their development. Once they submit an application, we vet those applications in line with the zoning ordinance, comp plan, and other adopted regulations. And then we received input from internal departments and external agencies along with neighboring property owners. So we take that information, we provide a recommendation based on known facts. So what we don't do is provide a recommendation based on how we feel about a particular application. So there most certainly has been applications that I do not like, of which I will recommend approval because that's how the code and the comp plan have a go. There's other ones that I unfortunately have to recommend denial, even though I see it having benefit to the community, because that's how our codes are written and also our comprehensive plan is laid out. Staff does not always know how benign or contentious an application is going to be. Sometimes we can seek all the input that we want to from the community, and it may not be until people show up in droves at the meeting, and that's when they share their thoughts. And so that just happens. There's no control over it. We have no idea that that's going to happen. Obviously, we do not choose the applications presented before the Planning Commission, kind of reiterating that. Sometimes I wish we could, but we can't. So we get what's delivered to us, and then we just evaluate it in line with the codes and the comp plan, and then we write a recommendation. So the Planning Commission, of course, evaluates those same proposals, those applications, and provides recommendations to our City Council, or in the case of variances and conditional use permits, the final decisions. So ideally, much of the vetting will be done through this commission. So a lot of the heartburn, heartache, drama, ideally will be vetted here and hashed out, conditions included within any approval and or the denial that's rendered, so that you can save City Council that same heartache. That's the whole purpose of this commission, is to really vet those applications and provide your 2 cents from the planning perspective. Your Planning Commission resources would include staff. Of course, we're available to answer questions. Staff reports, it's critical. We write those for a reason. And then any trainings provided by North Dakota Planning Association or other organizations, possibly really anything. If you have a subject of interest that you think would be worth exploring, then we can look at it from a land use perspective and evaluate it as far as its appropriateness to the city of Minot. So first and foremost, Planning Commission should read staff's reports that we generate. That's going to have the bulk of your information. That it's going to holistic report delivered to you. The oral presentation is just a supplement to the written report. It's going to be a Cliff's Notes, if you will, presentation. The staff report is really going to have all the meat and potatoes of the purpose behind the recommendation. So I highly encourage you to read staff's reports. I was a planning commissioner in Bismarck. I understand the day of, oh, it's a planning commission evening. Oh, great. So now how many applications are there? There might be 8 of them on your list. It's not difficult to look through and vet out and say, okay, this is simple. This is a property boundary adjustment between neighboring property owners because one property owner unintentionally installed landscaping on a neighboring property owner's property, and this is the simplest and cheapest way to remedy the issue. So you probably don't need to read in depth all of the staff's report, but we're still required to write it and write it in line with the code and the comp plan and provide that recommendation. So if there's one that jumps out at you that clearly, is kind of, you're thinking to yourself, something's not right here, read in depth with regard to why staff is recommending what approval or denial or whatever it is. But again, whatever staff's recommendation is, it's vetted and through the code and the comp plan. So certainly ask staff questions related to the application. Discuss amongst yourselves the reasons for or against an item based on the respective criteria. Now, each application is going to have evaluative criteria to utilize in coming up with your decision. Again, that's included in the staff report. And so you're absolutely welcome to disagree with staff on that. Provide a recommendation or final decision based on, again, the known facts. So Planning Commission should not feel compelled to try to convince staff of your recommendation. It's your recommendation, so own it. We already did our job. We created the staff report, and we come up and give our oral presentation. Ultimately, you need to be convincing one another of your recommendation because it takes a majority to adopt a recommendation. So our role is kind of just answering questions and stepping aside and letting the discussion ensue. I will premise that on make a recommendation counter to staffs without specifying the changing facts. Obviously, if you're going to recommend denial based off staff's generated findings of fact, that's not going to work because they were catered to support potentially a recommendation. So you're going to want to address that reasoning, help us to use the evaluative criteria, provide us the adjusted facts of the case. So if it doesn't meet something, if you don't believe that the services are going to be adequate to service a particular property, and you disagree with staff, note that so it's clear, because we need to have all these decisions based on fact. I guess with that, so we are going to have some upcoming training opportunities. So Planning and Zoning Commissioner training will be on November 18th at 11:30. And then we're also going to be doing a deep dive into variances. So if you're interested in that. Further, if you do have questions on particular application types, I highly encourage you to ask, and we can generate some information to kind of provide some guidance from staff perspective to Planning Commission. I know we don't have a handout for new and existing planning commissioners, but we're here as a resource to kind of guide you through this. So I want to make sure that there is a very specific process on evaluating and titling properties to develop. And so I want to make sure we follow that process, and we're here as a resource for that. It's our whole purpose. And so certainly use us. And no, that was it. So if there's any questions.
Thank you, John. Very good. All right. We will move on then to meeting dates, seeing no questions.
Okay. Do you have the slide up, John? Is there a slide on here?
I don't think we included the slide.
Oh. Okay.
It's just discussion, so.
Okay, so in your packet, you should have received this table that has meeting dates. And I presented this, this table last year for the 2021 calendar. I gave 6 options last year. It's best for us to meet either the first week of the month or the third week of the month, because then we can process all these applications to go to the next city council meeting. If we met on the second or fourth week of the month, these applications would have to wait an extra 2 weeks. So for example, the cases that were presented tonight will go before city council at their October 18th meeting. If we had this meeting next week, there wouldn't be enough time for us to process these applications to go to that meeting. They'd have to wait until the first meeting of November. So in order to get these cases through in an expedient manner, we believe the best time of the month to meet is either the first week of the month or the third. And of course, on Mondays, our city council meets on Monday nights, so obviously we cannot have our meetings on Monday nights. So our 3 options are are Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, either the first week or the third week of the month. Last year, I do recall somebody stating that they had a conflict on the third Tuesday of the month. So that's why we're going with the first Tuesday. The areas highlighted in yellow on this chart indicate times when the city council will be meeting on a Tuesday night, because there's a holiday that Monday. In January, that holiday is Martin Luther King Day. In July, the holiday is 4th of July. In September, it's Labor Day. So city council will be meeting on Tuesday night. We'll have to meet on Wednesday night. The areas that are highlighted in blue indicate where the first meeting of the month, for example, under option 1, February 1st is actually before the first meeting of the first city council meeting of February, which would be February 7th. So those are situations where we may have to delay cases for 2 weeks. They'd be February, March, and November. But you'll notice the later on in the week that we go, the more times that this happens. And I would like to either stick to the first Tuesday of the month or go to the third Tuesday of the month. I just was wondering what everyone's availability is like. I know we don't have a full quorum tonight. So if you want us to contact the other members to ensure that they're still available on the first Tuesday of the month, I can do that. But I'm wondering, for those of you in attendance tonight, are you still comfortable meeting on the first Tuesday of the month, or would you like to move it to the third Tuesday? First is okay?
Yeah, I think the first is good.
First works for me.
Yep.
How about those on Teams?
First is best.
Okay.
How does it work okay for staff?
Yeah, works good for us. Yep. So
Perfect.
we can stick with the first meeting of the month, first Tuesday of the month.
Okay.
Okay,
It's worked good so far, so I think we should just, we're on the right track. Stick with it.
okay. We'll do that.
Very good. All right. I don't see anything else. So we're adjourned. Thanks for coming.